the much reported federal government palliatives, we feel it is important to give background information, again, to make it very clear what the state has got, what the state has not got, so that members of the public are properly guided, and to also let members of the public know the details of what has come to the state and what the government is about to do with it, as a matter of transparency and accountability. It is on that note that we wish to confirm receipt of 2 billion naira out of the 4 billion naira relief funds that the federal government has released for purchase of rice to be distributed en masse to vulnerable members of the public in the state. I want to stress here that whatever I'm saying here is state specific. It is something that has to do with Kwara State Govt. The state government having confirmed the 2 billion out of the 4 billion naira, await a balance of 2 billion naira of the funds, as well as 1 billion naira worth of maize, which is 40,000 bags, which the Central Bank of Nigeria is selling to each state from the National Strategic Reserve. We wish to explain in context the details of the 5 billion naira federal government relief package that had earlier been reported by the media. When you look at the newspapers today, the whole media is awash with the story, and it's important to give a context, and that's why we are doing this. Each state is to receive 4 billion naira to purchase bags of rice in the current market value and distribute same to citizens in the state, with the most vulnerable persons as the first priority. This is as agreed at the National Economic Council. Each state is to also receive 1 billion naira worth of maize from the Strategic National Reserve through the Central Bank of Nigeria, as I have said earlier. This is not in form of cash. I am mentioning this again. This is not in form of cash. It is maize. As of Friday, today, August 18, 2023, the Kwara State Govt has received 2 billion naira of the 4 billion naira. We await the balance, as I mentioned earlier, and of course we also await the maize from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, it is important to mention at this point that 48% of the 4 billion naira, which is 1 billion naira and 20 million naira, is a non-interest loan that will be paid back over a period of 20 months at 120 million naira monthly. This deduction begins in November, which means you have a moratorium of 3 months from now. The state government has consequently ordered immediate purchase of rice in the value of the amount. For transparency and fairness to all, distribution of the palliatives will be overseen exclusively by a committee headed by the Kwara State Police Commissioner, Madam Adelisi. She will be supported by the Emir of Shonga, His Royal Highness Dr. Ali Yaya. The state chairman of Jamaatul Nasrul Islam will also be part of the committee. The state chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria will also be a member of the committee. And each of these people, of course, can also send their representative. Dr. Lawal Olongbebe and Mrs. Grace Nkebolaji, both representing civil society of Nigeria, will also be on this committee. We also have the chairman of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Dr. Mrs. Saudat Abdulbaki. Mr. Stephen Awoyale is a young person. He's representing the the youth constituency. And of course, there will be a representative of the DSS. There will also be a female representative each from the disability community and the Nigerian Union of Journalists. And a director in the office of the Secretary to the State Government, Alhaji Abdurrahman Amin Babatunde, is going to be the Secretary of the committee. Now, further details on the palliatives will be released by the committee when it is inaugurated. Now, similarly, you will recall that about 2 weeks ago, we announced specifically on August 8th, we issued a statement announcing that the state government has received 2 truckloads of rice, bags of rice. In the said statement that we awaited the balance of 3 truckloads of rice. So I can confirm that we have now received the remaining 3 bags, and exactly the remaining 3 bags, and the distribution of the remaining 3 truckloads has commenced through various channels of reaching out to the public, including lawmakers who represent the 24 state constituencies and other stakeholders in the state. I hope we are getting the drift. This is separate from what I was discussing about the 4 billion naira. It's just an update to what we put out earlier about the 5 truckloads of rice that the federal government had earlier released to state. But in the case of Kwara State, we only released 2 truckloads. While we were waiting the remaining 3, we have now received the remaining 3. So I'm just trying to give the update as a matter of transparency. The state government again urges that these palliatives be shared in the spirit of fairness to all, particularly to the most vulnerable persons, because it is simply impractical for everyone to get this palliative at the same time. The government appeals to members of the public to remain patient and calm as multi-layered steps are being taken in phases, including huge intervention to support massive local food production, local production of gas-powered vehicles, support for small and medium-scale enterprises, manufacturing sector and other businesses, to boost the local economy and ease difficulties arising from the removal of fuel subsidy. Finally, His Excellency the Governor commends Mr. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the several initiatives of the federal government to bring ease to the people of this country, especially Kwara State. The Governor reassures all Kwarans of his commitment to their welfare at this time and always. Thank you, God bless you. List of members of the members of the committee. The government is being intentional in ensuring that people are being picked from the grassroots. People are very, very close to the grassroots. And the man, for instance, knows within the ranks of his followers those who have approached him to say, Imam, could you please talk to Brother Lagbaja to please support with 1 naira or 2 naira, which is why, if you look at the institution of Zakah, for instance, and look at those that God has mandated to distribute Zakah, you will see that the people who are working on it are also beneficiaries, right? But we are also aware that the scholars are one of those people who are able to identify the vulnerables because they are very close to the people. They teach people. People go to them to ask questions, to say A, B, C, D, to even relate their everyday experiences to them. So we imagine as a government that these people, just like I have mentioned with regards to Imam, who are truly poor from amongst their folks. They know those who have enough money to go around, and they know those who are struggling to make ends meet. So that's a yardstick really. And if you also look at these organizations, I mean, the Jamaat Nasrul Islam, the Christian Association of Nigeria, they are the people who are leaders in their communities. The community organizations are basically under them in one way or the other. Then when you also look at the fact that members of the civil society organizations, they are also interacting with members of the public every other day. They have friends, they have cousins, they have fathers, they have mothers. They know, they have a large network of people that they work with. Don't forget that as members of the civil society movement, they also have projects that they are working on, which in most cases seek to limit the size of the level of poverty in the society. So if you look at the composition of the committee itself, it shows clearly that the government is intentional about being transparent. The government is being intentional about ensuring that only those who truly deserve to get it eventually. Now, nobody is saying we are going to achieve 100%. But what we are saying is that these people live in our communities. They know those who can bring out 100,000 naira and not bat an eyelid. They know those who struggle to bring out 500 naira. So we imagine that the committee as it is, working with different organizations, working with different grassroots organizations across the state, will be able to come up with genuine lists. Don't forget that we did this in 2020 during the outbreak of COVID-19. So we believe that we have learned from the experiences of that year, and we are certain that a lot more will be achieved this time around. It is purely non-partisan. When you look at the composition of the panel, you will see that there is not a single person there who belongs to any specific political party. We are talking about alleviating the pains of our people at this time. Hunger knows no party. So this is about the people of the state. It's not about any specific political party. I don't know what he's saying. Mr. Fadei, you asked me where would the rice be sourced from. It will be sourced locally. It will be sourced locally. Thank you. Intention of the governor is to ensure that members of the public have access to these palliatives. Those who are deserving of it should get it. It is not about any political party, it is not about any specific interest group. It is about the people of the state. Now, the committee that will sit on this palliative will map out their own strategy on how to reach out to the most vulnerable people. There is something I need to clarify, and there is something I'm driving at here. When the committee gives a bag of rice to an individual or to a particular household, the committee cannot dictate to that household how it shares that bag. So if that household, for instance, thinks it wants to be good Samaritans, if I may use that word, and then calls 10 or 20 people to share in that bag of rice, it is no longer the fault of the government or the committee. When anybody goes on any platform and begin to show one mudu of rice, I think it's important that we get this clearly, because some people, for whatever reason, who want to start shooting videos when they receive A, B, C, D from government. It is not the fault of the government when any particular individual decides to share out of what he has got to some other people. Government will never share a cup of rice or whatever ridiculous thing that we may see on the social media. When you see that, it is not the doing of the government. It will also not be the doing of any committee. It will be purely the doing of somebody who has received their own